we have institutions in our societies that are about helping people integrate into community. We call them mediating institutions. Those institutions help people create a sense of belonging, a sense of community, but they often are siloed. So the faith traditions are siloed, the Catholics or the Christians, the Jewish folks, the Muslims, the Buddhists, we tend to silo as opposed to recognizing that much of what we're about is a shared belief that we are, as human beings, capable of living together in peace and mutual respect. So the organizing helps us identify those institutional connections, helps build relationships among institutions, that we can work together as faith, as union, as education, as community associations, and together build up a stronger, more whole society around us.
And in particular, that's why we're focusing on state and social houses. The reality is that we are grossly short of those houses, that the numbers have declined in the last 5 years from about 69 to 64,000. The government has been meddling with it. It hasn't been prepared to commit money, and we should ask the next government to actually say, you actually have to stump up with some cold, hard cash. Whether it's borrowed or whether it's from taxes, doesn't matter. It's an investment in assets that will prove their worth in the future generations.
Since May 2016, my children and I have moved 6 times. From May to January 2017, we were living in a private rental property on Palmers Road, paying $550 a week. Another family were living with us to help pay the rent. I started jumping houses between the grandparents and a friend's house, as I felt I was putting too much pressure on the families, with kids constantly fighting and arguments starting. I have stayed in our van overnight to give my friends some space. My kids think we go on night adventures, and I drive around until they go to sleep before parking up because I don't want to tell them what is really happening.
Larissa, for question 2, will you and your party commit to establishing an additional 200 units in South Auckland dedicated to emergency housing in the next term of government?
Broad-based organizing helps people see themselves as part of collectives in society where values and interests are shared so they don't feel alone. And they also help people see themselves as part of something that has standing in society, because many people who live on the economic margins of our society can feel very disenfranchised and like they really have no place, but their institutions give them a place. We got to somehow figure out how do we construct society so that we can all work together and be the democracy that we aspire to be. To do that, people have to learn those skills of building relationships, building trust, recognizing that we share much in common around what's going on with our children. How do we construct a society that protects our children and gives them the opportunity to grow and develop into healthy adults? And it's everything from education to healthcare to decent housing to neighborhoods that provide resources that children have what they need in terms of parks and playgrounds and libraries and other amenities to complement their development. The problem is the gap between those public officials and the communities that they represent. So we organize in order to close that gap, to build the kind of relationships where they understand the needs and then they're willing to respond to the people who ultimately will elect them or not.
Less discrimination, less violence, less negativity,
less hatred,
more love.
What I would want to change in the world is poverty. I find it sad how some people can't reach their actual potential due to lack of resources.
As a Polynesian residing in South Auckland,
I've seen the effects of poverty take its toll on education for children, due to parents being unable to afford tuition fees and school necessities. I've seen poverty affect my community because families struggle to meet expenses for homes and provide nourishment for their kids.
The main issue is having their voices heard. We're working with families who struggle to feed a family of 4. Convicted men and women who can't even see their own children. Children living in overcrowded state houses and therefore lack the proper necessities and resources to do as kids do. We're working with children who live in foster homes and don't have a family or a place to call home. There are so many different issues happening around Auckland. What will we as a people, as a nation do to help provide for those who are most vulnerable in our communities?
Through the work of the Industrial Areas Foundation 75 years ago in the U.S., was helping people understand the power that they have to kind of take control of their situation in ways that push back against systems that try to marginalize or make people conform to what's outside of their interests. And if we can make a difference on living wages, we can make a difference on lots of other things that are out of balance and need attention.
Some harmonies in there. The people breathe.